Welcome back, beautiful people. Welcome to the Sex Mechanic Podcast. I am, of course, your host, the Sex Mechanic, aka Jeanson Benoit, aka The Exception, aka Mr. Born to Explore, aka Confident Creator, aka I Did It My Way. And you're joining me for episode number 25 of the Sex Mechanic Podcast, where we talk about sex, dating, situationships, and relationships as a whole. Today, I have a returning guest and actually with a new guest in the background as well. Um, Shawi is joining us once again for this week's episode. So let's welcome her in with an
Woo!
applaud and great
Thank
thanks
you.
as well. Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you. This is awesome. That's by popular demand by me. Nobody else.
I know y'all wanted to see her again, so I brought her back. You know what I'm saying? I could tell. Um Yeah, I want to first say my bad for being a little lower energy than usual. All right, I'm dealing with a canker sore in my mouth, and it's not that comfortable to talk, but it's okay. We still gonna get into the conversation. We're gonna have a good convo, and we'll make the best of it for sure. And if all else fails, I'll just let Shawit do most of the talking. Then
I can do it.
we'll be
I
good.
can do
I
it.
can do it.
I say cheers. I can definitely do it.
So, well, I can't
Oh,
cheers you because I got tea. That's bad luck to, yeah, to
yeah, a little bit.
toast. Yeah, but
I double
go
pour
ahead.
myself.
But I will take a sip though. So today we're talking about gender roles. I know I usually start with appreciation, but I'm gonna just go right into it today. Um, Gender roles, do they make our relationships more challenging? Do they make our relationships hard, harder? Um, my thoughts on it is I believe that gender roles can be used as a general outline versus uh versus a rule, you know. Just like most things in life, roles within a relationship should be flexible, so they should be fluid, and they should have the ability to change over time and based on a situation or circumstances. Go ahead, what you gotta say? Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that was a very, very, very good point that you mentioned that gender roles are fluid and such. Because we also have to remember these days, not these days, it's always been, but these days we're more mindful that gender is also fluid. So
Very true.
because of that, it'll always be fluid. But please continue.
Hmm. No, I agree with you though. I agree with you. And so I think that's so the dangers, of course, of gender roles when they're looked at as actual like rules,
Hmm.
uh, a box, just like anything else being put into a box that has to do with human beings. We're not good in boxes. We have to express ourselves creatively. I said creativity, creatively, and that also includes within relationships. Like within relationships, we want to express ourselves in different ways, and usually creativity shows up in ways that are outside the box many times or most times. Um,
Yeah.
so that go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say. I mean, that's how it usually happens. It happens when it's necessary. And I think I forget the phrase or the quote, but it's necessity is the key to invention or something like that. Meaning, because you actually needed to put something under your feet because the rocks was so difficult that shoes became were invented. You know what I mean? Or
Hmm.
that's a silly analogy, but you get what I'm trying to say.
No, no, it's not. I
So
mean, yeah, that makes
when you
sense.
end up in a new situation, you have to be creative. There's nothing else, and so you end up with this new sort of guide to help you when you're kind of stuck because of what's necessary, because you need it.
Exactly. And let's remember too, like how gender roles were even created. They were created by people who they benefited, obviously. So the roles were created, one-sided in certain ways that benefited one group of people that didn't benefit the other group so much. So you have to keep that in mind as well, is that gender roles weren't necessarily created um, to benefit everyone as a whole. It was more about how it could make maybe life easier for the parties who created the roles themselves. Um,
and
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 oh, go ahead.
and cultural sort of necessities, because I think I'll get into it a little bit later. But I lived in several different countries for several years, and For example, I'll give an example of Russia later, but theirs is a little different. It's something. It's not something I haven't seen before, but it's still completely different right now in 2021. And I was there between 2015 and 2017 the whole time in Moscow. So yeah, please.
I want to hear about that too. Um, yeah. So basically, it just comes down to not letting yourself be bound by the rules set forth by society. I'm not talking about actual like laws. I'm saying like rules. There's a difference. Things that are kind of like put on you and you're conditioned to think or feel based
Yeah.
on what society says is it should be. And that's what I'm talking about. You should challenge those and look more into those and see if they fit your lifestyle or not. Because I think as time goes on and as this new generation is coming through, we're realizing that we can customize more than just you know uh, inanimate objects within our lives. Like we can customize our lives,
Yeah.
our relationships, our
Yeah.
jobs,
Yeah.
uh, you know, uh, whatever you can come up with, we can pretty much
Whatever we
make
can
it,
control. Yeah.
or whatever we can control, we can pretty much make it whatever we need it to be, and make it be as flexible or as rigid as we need it to be. So even the thought of like having a job, it's not a bad thing to have a 9 to 5 or to have a job. But I think even that's part of the conditioning in terms of us thinking that that's the best way to get to whatever our goals are, whatever that may be for whatever person out there. And it's a lot easier, honestly, to go into a job and have that safety net as opposed to uh, thinking outside the box and maybe becoming an entrepreneur and doing something that it is you want to do.
Having a
It's a lot easier.
podcast. Yeah.
Well, hey, look, this podcast doesn't make me any money right now, but
Not yet.
if it does at one point, then that means I'm glad I was stepping out of my comfort zone in order to create the type of life that I desire. Because you got to step outside the comfort zone to do that.
I have a question for you because you said that this podcast isn't making money right now, and I know you work and all that. So
Hmm.
I went on a first date with someone a few months ago, right?
Hmm.
And I'm 38. He was 37. He was. See, now I'm talking. Uh, he's 37, and not because of this story. He just was a flake. Um, and he was saying how like he just didn't want, he wasn't sure if wanted to get married and do all this stuff because he wasn't sure if he'd be able to provide. Like he's still like he's like
Mm,
he's not sure. He's doing startups and things of this nature, and he's doing well, but he's still at the very very beginning. He's doing well for a beginner, I should say,
got you.
but it's still at the very beginning, and it's not making any money. And he's traveling, going to different cities, to meet with people. Um, and at one point he was saying he like was dealing with like crypto, and in I think earlier this year when it dipped, he said he lost like 60K. And that's around
Oh.
the time he was that's around the time he was looking for like a woman, a girlfriend to be with. And when he lost
Mhm.
that, he was like, well, I can't try anymore. And he was
Mm,
telling me this conversation about that he and his father had. And so I was like, what are you waiting for, dude? Like if you want to be with somebody, be with somebody. Don't let you not being able to provide, meaning his gender role,
mhm.
his perception of his gender and what he's supposed to be doing, to stop him. And he on a date with me, somebody who's like got all the jobs, assistant dean, adjunct professor. Da-da-da. I don't need your 60K, bruh. Like I know, I need your companionship. Like I need a friend, like a friend, like a partner, this and that.
Mhm.
And he's thinking that what he's supposed to bring to the table is the paycheck. Whoa, 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 whoa. So number one, I don't think he'll ever be ready because he won't feel like he's accomplished enough. And
Mhm.
number two, if you feel like you have to provide the money, what are you expecting a woman to do when you're over here actually actively looking for working women who are ambitious and all that? What do you expect to happen if you think that you will be looked at terribly because you're not able to provide? Wouldn't you think that women who are
Well,
working would understand something like that and understand hard work and understand you have to start or restart or do things? Mm.
that actually begs another question. Who says that they're looking for women who are uh, independent and working and all that other stuff? Because they might be looking for
You saw my
somebody.
profile.
Ah!
Absolutely not. You saw it. No. I'm just saying. But I will say, I will definitely say that I do end up matching with men who, and I thought it was Oakland, and I thought it was my age group, but
Uh-huh.
men who want like a very feminine woman and a very, I can say, well, partially submissive, partially I've seen the word cooperative thrown around, child. Don't, yeah,
Cooperative? People are writing that in their
cooperative, bro.
profiles?
And you know what I realized? At first, I thought it was Oakland. At first, I thought it was age group Oakland, like these older dudes, older, my age, 40
Uh-huh.
something dudes, who just don't get it. You know, I thought it was that. And then I realized, no, they're specifically matching with me because my photos look like this. You know, big doughy eyed price silly girl who just doesn't know anything, just like, yes, okay. You know, I mean, even though I'm writing stuff, I don't know what they're reading. I don't know if they're reading it. But I will say a lot of men assume that I will be a small, happy, sweet, petite little woman who will follow everything and not have anything to say back. And that is far from it, says this army vet right here.
And for those of y'all who might not know, she might look like a child, but she's very much an adult. And in terms of, saying like you can hold your own. And
Yeah.
uh
But it's really difficult when men expect a certain style of woman based on a look or based on an age or based on a whatever. It's
well, actually,
unfortunate.
I want you to tell me more about that. Is there a an
Okay, let me give you an
encounter or
example.
any
You know I got it. Let me go through this book, boy. No, I wouldn't even write. If I were written down, I would be crying. And then, no.
Okay, gotcha.
No. So this is a light encounter. There's a dude. It was on a dating app, and one of the dating apps that you actually probably would normally read, not one of them swipe rude apps.
Ah, okay, got you.
Okay, like a more
One more
developed,
serious.
a little more robust. Yeah,
Okay.
robust. That's it. Um, and he wrote all this stuff. It was like, I'm looking for a woman who's interested in a deep connection, and it was like, some prompts. One of the prompts was like, never have I ever, and it was like, met a woman who was interested in my true self, and all this stuff. I was like, okay, King, I'll be interested. Like, like it's just all like I want to settle down, I want to make a beautiful family, all this stuff. I was like, check. All right, like invite to chat, right? And he's like, hey, you look lovely, thanks for matching, all this, just speaking all stuff. And I was like, I really like what you wrote on there, and that's what I'm looking for. And I said, I'm glad I said this question. What are you looking for in a woman
Hmm.
specifically? And he was like, all right. And he was like, I want somebody who is inspirational, who I can also admire and aspire to be, but at the same time supports me what I need to do. And also, I like her to be classy, get her
He gonna
manicures,
he
pedicures,
gonna save the
and
best for last. See how
manicures,
people
pedicures,
save the best for
like,
last.
and not afraid to wear heels when I take her out. I said, okay, I said, I'm all that. I said, great, these sound wonderful. I don't know what the heels. I was like, sometimes, this is the Bay Area. For what? For who? For why? Where are we going? No. So, and I left that in DC. Absolutely not. DC healed me out. Like I'm finished. um, and so I was like, yeah, all that, and the heels, ha ha ha. Depend on the place. Ha ha ha. He said, oh, that sounds great. He said, what about the manicure pedicure? Huh?
Oh,
I'm
he
sorry. We
oh.
just discussed some real deep connection stuff, and you read through everything. He said, she ain't say manicure. So he wrote the joke. What about the manicure pedicure? I said, well, I no longer get my nails done. I think it's a waste of money to just continue to have to go back. And if it chips, he looks looking crazy. And pedicure, I'm cool with. And he was like, oh, but you can paint them yourself. I said, what? I said, huh? I said, nah. I mean, the thing is, I would have to still upkeep. Like it's still the same thing as me like having to spend my time on these nails when really I got work. I got work to do that makes me money and I learn things from. You know what I mean? And I was like, also it's really damaging. So I was like, and then I just kind of ended on. I was like, I prefer health over looks.
Hmm.
I thought it was case closed. My man said, you can get jail. I said, what? Like, is you at the nail salon? Like, how you know all this stuff right now? I said, huh? Like, mind you, our conversation started with deep connection and who he wants to be married with and all the things and yada, yada, yada. Right. And I said,
You can
all
get
right. And
jail.
at this point, I am not dealing with this man anymore. I'm just trying to hear what you got to say. So I said, hey, I had him for almost a year. I had jail for a year. They ruined my nails. They were really flimsy. Not doing it. And he was like, His response was, "Well, I don't want my woman's hands looking like mine." I was about to be like, "Wouldn't stop dating them big hand ass." Like I was about to say something like that, but that would have been rude.
Oh, oh
No,
my god.
I just I almost left him on red, but I just gave him the little emoji like this, like, and then he deleted my ass. Deleted me because I would not paint my nails. Oh, all right.
That's some gender roles
That's
for your ass right there. That's, I mean, if that's not the epitome of somebody just totally deep diving into, well, you know what? Let me not say gender roles. That's more of
not. I
ah
think he needs his
it
woman to
it
not
it,
his hands,
it,
woman's hands to not look like his. That's what a woman's hand is
it
supposed to look
falls
like.
into that. It does fall into that. And I would love to know from this guy why. Because I don't know if it's just a cosmetic thing, like, oh, it looks nice, or because I need your hands to be good to do, I don't know, certain types of tasks or something like that, and they need to look a certain way when doing that. I don't know. I have a comment. Hold on. A comment
Please.
from SG that says, "Was he wrong though? That that's what he liked. He's not wrong.
Well,
It's
I'm
his
not
preference."
saying he's wrong. I'm saying if you start the conversation deeply, talking about your connection, what you want in a wife, and you drop me because I do not want to paint my nails freaking orange or whatever, that's that's wild. You don't want to even meet the woman because her nails aren't painted, then you're not looking for a deep connection. Or you're looking for something superficial first, and then you're
And
gonna
then,
find out if like
yeah,
stop playing games.
you
You
going,
know
you
what I
going,
mean?
you might be going in the wrong order.
But I hear
And
you though. It is what he likes. That's
yeah,
cool. Then leave
everybody
with
can
that.
have
Then
their.
that's what you write on your profile.
That's what I was
If
gonna say.
that's a
Yeah,
deal breaker.
if that's the tricky part too, is like um some people kind of feel like, oh, let me put the stuff that sounds nice. That's why I was like, oh, he was saving the best for last, because he could have said that first if it was that important to him, and in terms of like what he's looking for in a woman, and y'all could have went from there. But um SG says that's not true. I don't know which part of that you're referring to. That's not true.
I'm sure it wasn't
It
my
says
stuff. I have to
as she
disagree.
says, I have disagreed. You can have deep connection and physical expectations as well. Yeah, you can. No, you can. But again, so when it comes down to like what are you looking for in a person, everybody has their preferences, right? And just like I said on, I think the last episode I did, the preference isn't the problem. Maybe 2 episodes ago, the preference isn't the issue. The why behind the preference is the issue, and that's what we're getting deep down into, is the gender roles. If it's because women are supposed to have nails nicely
Mm-hmm.
done, that's a gender role. That's an expectation based on a gender role, and so that's what we're trying to dig deep into. Not the fact that somebody wants somebody to
Yeah.
have nails that look nice because they look nice. So I
If
get
he
it.
had said something like,
Just like guys
"Oh,"
like to get their haircuts too and look
I
fresh. You know
mean,
what I'm saying? It's not that different from that too. But again, we're talking about more of the why versus the what, if that makes any sense. Go ahead. My bad.
it's gone.
Oh.
I was rereading what he wrote or what SG read. It's
Okay.
gone forever. Good girl gone
Okay.
back.
Okay. Well, good comments though. I appreciate that, SG. Thank you.
Yeah, I do. I appreciate it. I'm trying to think. It's in my time. Um, oof. No, okay, so that's what it was. When I had mentioned specifically saying that like I prefer health over looks, I was saying my nails were actually, and it was true. They were peeling, they were ruined, they were really thin. Like it was like a burning sensation because of how much they like peeled off. If he just said, "Oh, that makes sense," maybe for special occasions, I'd be like, oh, "Okay, great." Not like, "Well, I need your nails done all the time." Like,
Even if they damage your nails, that's okay. I'll pay for it to get redone. It's okay.
right?
We have
Yeah.
another comment from SG that says, right, but some people are traditional as well. Yeah, possibly. But again, what's the why behind it? I'm not saying you can't be. You could be whatever you want. But for me, I always like to challenge. Um, I like to challenge people to think and ask themselves why it is they do or feel certain ways, because or do certain things or feel certain ways, because that's constantly what um I don't know. I feel like that's self-awareness. That's you being
Yeah,
real with yourself and finding out what is behind whatever it is that you prefer or you like or you don't like. That is important because you might uncover some stuff that might be kind of toxic or not. You know
right.
what I'm saying? But it's important to actually deep dive and see why it is. But
So
not to
I just
say
I
that that's the case for this person. I'm just saying like it sounds like
yeah,
they need to go a little deeper and maybe find out why they like that or put something a little bit different in the profile. Like put that as a bit as more importance than maybe they
like
put
I
on.
like my women very feminine or
Yeah.
something. Or I
Give
should, I
people
mean, I'm
more of
not
an
about to write.
idea.
I'm pretty masculine.
Yeah.
I
But go
almost
ahead.
put my army picture up there, but that would have looked like I beat men or something. Like I was like, I don't do that though. Like I'm not aggressive, like But like what's like like you about to date like
Ain't
a.
nobody gonna believe that with that baby
But
face, man.
see, you don't even believe that I'm a trained killer. Anyway, but I
She
was
actually
gonna
is, y'all,
mention,
but go ahead.
yeah, back in the day, but no, they mentioned traditions, and so. Thank you for enjoying us. But based on traditions, if it's just based on tradition,
Hmm.
and that person is saying it's just not going to work for them. Let's say nail painting is a tradition, 100 years old, and it's just not going to work for me medically. It's not going to work. If you can't logically step out of that, then something else is going on. Something else is going in your head. And okay, so let me give you an example. So I said I was living in Russia 2 years. I lived in
Hmm.
Moscow, and so when I first got there, I was a little afraid. How I look, I was a little afraid. But I realized I was like, whoa, they're actually really nice to me, or the men are really nice to me because I'm a woman. I mean, if they do acknowledge me, but sometimes I'm like, so you can't hold the door because I'm black, but it's fine. But they do normally. They're very very chivalrous in Russia, specifically
Hmm.
Moscow because I was there. But in general, Russia, the men will always open the door. They will let the women. Da, 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 da. Even you go on dates, they will always pay. I think I mentioned it last time.
Oh.
Um, but then you get a little deeper in there and you realize, oh no, the same way that they're chivalrous and give you the code and da 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 and pay for everything and make sure they walk you to the door, like everything is the
What you
same
want
way
from
that
me
they'll
back?
expect. When if you are married, they're the same way they'll expect you to be barefoot and pregnant in that kitchen. Like, yes, 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 honey, I did the things that I was supposed to do to woo you. Now that you're
Hmm.
here, you're supposed to do this thing. And in my head, I call it like a 1950s America style of chivalry, where the dude is working all the time and he's, pretending he believes that he should. He's been told by tradition that he should be opening doors and he should be taking care of this feminine woman who can't do a thing, right? Um, and then they go home and beat their wife. But that's not us. But we have stepped out of it, and our traditions, it's still traditional in our head, but our gender roles have changed, and it's still has some tradition in there where you see mostly the women doing the domestic duties, even if they are working and the guy isn't. But in Russia, they haven't switched over. And so
Mm.
my whole point of my point of the story is kind of like, so when is tradition really like really meaningful? If we've stepped away 50, like at this point 70 years past it, but they're still in 1950, does it, and we're at the same point in time, am I a good woman in America and a terrible woman in Russia because of tradition? Or can we logically step out of it and say, hey, this isn't working? She shouldn't paint her nails because her fingernails will be ruined. She doesn't have to be barefoot and pregnant just because it's tradition in Russia right now. Like women are working. And if she's working as hard as you are, then let's figure something out when we get home domestically. That's what I mean.
And you make a good point about this whole tradition thing because obviously I'm somebody who I pretty much break a lot of traditions. I'm not traditional. There's very little traditional about me. At the same time, I respect people who want to keep tradition going. I guess that's fine. But again, when what life is around you doesn't match tradition of the past, or kind of like what was in the past, at some point, like you said, you got to use logic over tradition and be like, all right, this doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make
Mm-hmm.
sense in your life, if it doesn't make sense in the way you live and the way your lifestyle is or the way your family dynamic is, then maybe you shouldn't really follow tradition and you should follow something else. because that's what I'm talking about in terms of being inside of a box. And this goes outside of even relationships. This is like our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We're so stuck on doing things based on the rules given to us that it's hard for us to see any way outside of that. Like, it's hard for us to see that there's ways to do things, there's methods to do things outside of, the box, outside of what we've been told. It's kind of like, what's the saying? You
Forest
can't
trees.
see forests over the trees, or something like that.
Ooh, something
Something
like
like that. I can. I tried.
that. Ah.
Both of us are 0 for 1 on our
Hey.
sayings, but we tried. But basically, it's like you
Right.
can't see past what's in front of you, and
Mm-hmm.
if you're stuck inside of this, inside of this
To be able to
figurative
see the big.
box, you can't see outside of that, and so that's where tradition sometimes serves as the box. And you
Mm-hmm.
know
I like that.
because people argue about tradition and shit when they talk about the Confederate flag, you know what I'm saying, like, and why they don't want to get rid of it. Sometimes tradition needs to go because that shit is trash.
Hey.
I'm not talking about this in particular. I'm just saying in some cases tradition is not necessary. It's not needed. It needs to go. And maybe there was never a purpose for it. That's another argument, another discussion. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to argue
Mm-hmm.
that some traditions shouldn't have been traditions in the first place, because
Right.
again, it was made by people who had their interests in mind, and maybe not the interests of other people. So you got to think about where traditions come from before we just blindly follow traditions. That's why everything, challenge it, ask yourself why, whether it's your behavior or behavior others are doing, because the why makes more of a difference than the actual what. But that's my little, rant for that. But yeah.
And it's easily said, but a lot of the stuff I'd have to really think deeply on what the why is. I'd be like, because, but,
Hmm.
I was told by somebody I trusted when I was
Hmm.
a child. So, like, what I mean, like that's it. Um, so yeah, that's gonna take a lot of work to not only figure out the why, and if you do figure it out and feel like you want to change that, to get yourself out of that mindset, get yourself out of that habit, get yourself out of even thinking that way. Like the same as like what now? So growing up, slut shaming was normal. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying I was, I'm not saying anybody, but right now we even have the term slut shaming. That wasn't even a term back then. And it used to be like, look at that, look at shit. And now it's like, let the woman enjoy her life like men have been enjoying their lives. And by enjoy, I mean doing it or not doing it, or doing it plenty or not, what, whatever. Um, it just things change over time. Like I was gonna add another point. Oh, what's going on today?
I don't know.
My brain is what it is. I'm
It's
sure
like
this will help.
it's like not
Anyway.
tonight. I'm sure this will help. Oh
But
man. Um yeah, I think it just, again, I think we don't realize how much conditioning has been done
mm,
to us from when we were, children. Think about the grading system in school, and using the example or the analogy of coloring within the lines. If you
mm,
don't color within the lines enough, or if you don't write enough within the lines well enough, then your grade will reflect that. And that's kind of like, it's teaching you early on, like, hey, stay within these boundaries or these rules, or else you won't be able to get the success that you're wanting to achieve. And that's a very important lesson that for a lot of people it's stuck with, and they've continued to live their lives by it as well. But go ahead.
and let me add to that, because that's really cool you said that, because if they don't follow the lines, then they won't achieve success. But what is success? Success is what someone else has told you that when you made it according to those lines,
Hmm.
right? So now you have to get validation from others in order to be considered successful.
Hmm.
So if you create your own lines, fuck them all, right? If
Exactly.
you create your own lines, you know what successful is, feels like, isn't. You know your own timeline. You can create it, you can change it, you can do whatever you want, because it's no longer following whatever those guidelines are regarding that box, whether it's gender,
Hmm.
whether it's your whole life, whether it's whatever. And so regarding gender roles and then dating and then being a little older, yes, I am definitely outside the box and I am definitely struggling because of that. I'm not saying you do whatever you want, success about to come. Listen
Hmm.
here, I'm single, jingle, dingle, dingle. I'm gonna all kinds of single right now. But that's fine because I'm not about to hang with somebody who doesn't want my personality and I can't shrink. I won't be able to shrink myself without first of all, I won't be able to shrink myself. Number two, I'd be full on anxious or depressed or continuously on some sort of alert, like just did I do it right? Did I? Like, ain't nobody trying to live like that. I want to live freely, and if freely ends up being by myself, look, I'm better
I
not.
mean,
Better not.
I don't necessarily think so though. I think more and more people are awakening to the fact that they don't have to they don't have to necessarily color within the lines, and maybe men are doing it at a slower rate. Um, because I don't know who I talked to this about. Maybe it was Joanne when she was on about this movement going on about like modern women versus men or
Oh,
something like that. Like a lot of it is just some made up stuff that y'all falling into the traps, man. Y'all can't let these traps get y'all. Like they're putting men and women against each other, and people are just taking the bait, man. Don't take the bait. Like
it's like the oldest debate in the book. What is this? This is true
the
how
Adam
verse.
and Eve. Oh.
I can't. It's
Oh,
too small, so at least you
SG
can read it
says
out.
this is true. However, it's going to take a lot of resilience in that child creating their own line. Oh, that's damn that's
Lord
true.
have mercy.
But guess what though?
Yes.
You know what? I'm glad you said that because that actually starts from the parents letting them know that it's okay to create their own line and then allowing that space in that room for them to, expand in the way they got to expand. And let's be honest, like depending on your generation, depending on who your parents are, depending on whether you have immigrant parents or, parents who are not immigrants, that may not be the lesson they were taught. And especially
Mm-mm.
if they come to a different country, they're definitely like, hey, you need to stay within these. The lines are probably even
Yeah.
smaller. Like the
Listen,
lines
I
are
was
even
like,
more
this is my
narrow.
box.
You're like,
Yeah.
for everybody else, they could do this, and that. But for you, it's like, nah, you need to do this. And if you don't, then you were not successful. So all these things you have to take into account. But you're right. It's not going to be easier, just like it's not easier in dating. I would have been, married, I guess, and found, well, I won't say married because married is not a requirement for me, but I would have been in a
But no,
long
married
term
based on the
relationship.
based on what success means in the box. Married.
Okay, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on the society's definition of success, I would have been married, had plenty of kids by now because um,
All right. I already know what you're about to say.
no,
Calm it
because I would
down.
have no, because
Cause you know. Ah.
I would have been within the lines, though. I'm saying, if I was within the lines, then I would have
Okay.
definitely found
All
suitable partners to fit that with me for sure. But because I'm not a within the lines type of person, it's not as easy, which is fine. I'm okay with that. SG also says, "Yep, agreed." LOL.
right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and speaking of resilience, the other comment is um, I I'm speaking on personal experience, and I've been attempting to date since I've been vaccinated back in March, April, and I was dating online prior to during the pandemic, and would kind of meet in open spaces if we had like let's meet by the lake, that kind of
Hmm.
deal. Um, because of and I'm not even like an asshole to be honest. I was gonna say because of my personality or my parts that are a little bit more masculine. And just a little backtrack. I was raised by my father. Later, was in the army, and then lived in these other countries by myself, where I had to like like without even speaking a language, like Spain and Russia and Korea and all this stuff for a couple of years each. And I like had to, I got to take care of myself. So I basically was a man, if you will. Let's call it that. And so dating now, these dudes are harsh, and it takes a lot of resilience. Like for example, not too long ago, I was kicked out of my car. First date, chilling, and like off some like I'm having normal conversation. I'm not even upset. And I guess he's from the Bay Area. Like I said, I'm from DC, and I kept calling him son, and he ain't like that. Apparently that was disrespectful. And even if I'm saying in a joking manner, it's like, yes, because he, after like I don't know whatever amount of time, he's like, man, get the fuck out, like hard. Like I said, what? What happened? Like, huh?
Thought we was
Is you
still
for real?
playing.
Like I
Yeah.
didn't even know. Yeah, I was like, huh? And he was like, yeah, get the like, yeah. Um, all right, sure. Like I'm not even like you're being weird about it, but it was because basically I was treating him like an equal. He didn't like it. That is all that was. Another dude I was dating for like a month. Um, he didn't like it. The same thing, and I was like, is it Bay Area or is it my age or is it my the way I look? And I had to figure out that it was basically all of them combined. Um, and he didn't like my slang either. Signed, oh, bruh. I say bruh a lot. um, and he was like almost forcing me to come up with a nickname for him. He was like, you had to call me, like, pick up a nickname for me, figure out a nickname for me. And I was like, I don't know, honey bun, like honey, like I don't know what you're talking about. And then one of them, I was like, yeah, baby doll. Ah, he was like, absolutely not. Like he ain't want nothing lower. He was like, what about daddy? Like I got a father.
What?
Like
Oh no, he didn't really
no.
suggest that. You
Yes, he
lying.
did multiple times actually. He was like, wait, so what's wrong with that? Like
Who
yes.
does
So I'm
that?
telling you, these dudes really want me to be like, hey,
What about daddy? Who says, hey, how about daddy for a nickname
and
for
mind you,
me?
this one actually was a little bit younger than me, like first of all.
What?
So Mariah, that's what I want to do. But anyway, like but yeah, and so like that is difficult. And so you
Hmm.
end up being faced with all these weird situations. Like, is it me? After a while, you're like, is it me? And like I can't, like I said, I can't shriek myself. So I'm gonna either be single, jingle, jingle, jangle, mingling
Hmm.
out this, or just figure out it is rough,
Oh,
bruh.
sounds rough.
But no, these are examples. I'm not like, so let me just, turn this off and cry real quick. Like, I mean, all right. Like, it's actually hilarious. Like, these men need to grow up, in my opinion. He probably thinking I need to do whatever, get a, you know, taken down a few notches or something. It's incompatible. The day is incompatible. But the issue is that, like, I'm realizing
Damn.
it's going to be
To,
more incompatible than not,
but
based on who I'm meeting.
uh, to take, I don't know, to take bruh or son like personal when I mean, obviously I've known you now for what? Almost 5 years. Oh yeah,
Four,
almost
I
5 years.
guess.
No, it was
Whatever, same. Yeah.
2017. Yeah.
Yeah, it was true.
Yeah. So I mean, I know you as somebody who tells jokes, who's funny, great with the stories, you know what I'm saying? But and also very animated. Um, and I'm from the East Coast
Yeah.
too. So I guess maybe that makes a difference, but I don't
Florida.
know. Like, is there a
Don't call that
problem?
East. I mean,
Is there
that's the South.
no? South Florida is not the South. I promise you.
It's true. That's true.
It's
Other
very
parts of
different.
it.
That's the
All right.
Caribbean.
I'll
That's the
allow
Caribbean.
Miami. I'll give my everyday county a
Okay.
pass.
Yeah. But basically, like, I don't know why somebody would be so offended, and that's a whole nother like thing to get into. Is like, why would you feel? I don't know. Why would you feel that deeply offended by uh I don't know, but
You know why? Because
it
they
sounds
are
like
not
gender
doing
roles
well
though.
in other parts of their lives. They feel
And
incompetent in other parts of their lives. Half of them Jones ain't had no job. How you telling me what to do? You don't have no job, bro. And I'm not saying, hey, as a man, you're not working. Therefore, I'm saying, don't tell me how I should be acting, especially if you want me to be more submissive and more feminine, if you will. If you're not even doing what you're supposed to do, as well. So
based on the
something's going
rules,
on.
based
Yeah,
on the
something's going
rules.
on in their
Mhm.
head. They don't feel strong enough, and they need the woman to do this thing. Okay, show me that you're deserving of it. That is
Mhm.
all.
Yeah.
And being deserving of it doesn't mean I'm gonna switch over and call you daddy now. It's just gonna be less sons out here. You know what I mean? It's just gonna be a beautiful son. I'm gonna say it
That p-
nicely. I don't
that
know.
that part I don't that's that I don't know if I'm gonna be able to ever like get that out of my mind that somebody made the suggestion with a serious face. Hey, why not call me daddy as a nickname?
And, yeah, and then he tried to make
Outside
it
the
funny later
bedroom.
on. He was like, "Zaddy, like boy,
Outside the
get your."
bedroom. What?
I don't. I have a father.
Oh man. So I guess
Not to
my
say like if I didn't, I'm just like, bro, my father's still alive. That's weird. Like, yo, that's gross. Like, oh,
man, I might need to. I thought I was doing enough on these podcasts and everything, but I might need to do a little bit more, man. because these young dudes out here, I'm gonna say young dudes because I'm gonna assume he was younger than me. Um,
That one. The one who said daddy was he's like he's 34, 35. So yeah, he younger.
nah, not that
But
much.
the other child was
Same.
like 40, 42 or something, kicked me out, something, something. I kept calling him son. Boy, die. Talking about hey, son. Yeah. But anyway, I'm mad.
That is wow. That's something, man. For people, I don't know. I mean, but of course, everybody has their stuff that they're going through, and so sometimes you're not in a position to,
Yeah.
you know, to take or be able to accept certain things, even if it doesn't seem that extreme on the outside to somebody else. So I hope they get that worked out because, yeah, yeah, I hope they get that
Mm,
worked out. That's all I can say on that.
mm, mm.
Um,
I have
I
zero hopes. They'd be all
I know
right.
some
I'm
of
mad.
the I know some of the gender roles for men, and you could maybe give some for the women. Um, some of the typical ones that are out there in our society, in particular, are provide, protect, for the men, and
Mm,
I love like watching like animal stuff. I'm into
mm,
like
mm,
wildlife and all that other stuff. So I study how lions do things, and for those of you who don't know, the male lion, his responsibility is to protect the pride by basically most of the day is spent walking around his territory, which is a large territory typically, and he's looking
mm.
for uh, other males that are trying to infiltrate his territory
Okay.
and obviously start anew with the pride that he's built, or not built, but the pride that he's with.
Right, right. You ain't
So
about to
all
replace me.
exactly. So most of the day he's going around just spraying uh, the area so that other males know that this territory is taken. And for the female's responsibility is to take care of the cubs and also to hunt and get the food. So there are some prides where the male lions get in on the hunt, but that's when it's a pride that goes after bigger game like
Mm,
giraffes or uh larger prey.
yeah.
They need the male's strength to help them out. But typically, it's the lioness's job to go out and get food for the pride. So I think in some ways, maybe I don't know if somebody saw this in the past and was like, you know what, this is kind of how it should be outside of the whole hunting part, because men are
Right.
supposed to be
Ignore
that's
that.
supposed to be that's supposed to be our responsibility too, is to provide and protect. So providing is providing food, shelter, um, whatever the family needs in terms of housing and everything else, and the protection obviously is to protect from whoever else would want to come and take that away, or
Mhm,
or do something against that. um some of the ways that obviously that can be dangerous or detrimental is it can make men feel like if they're not working, then they have nothing to provide, or if they're not bringing in most of the money, then they don't have anything else to contribute to the relationship. The protection part, obviously, if a man feels like he can't protect his partner or his family, that's also something that has caused people a lot of stress and grief. I could think back to a situation that happened to me in college where I was talking to this girl. I was in my car. She was standing outside the car in the on the passenger side, talking to
mhm,
me, like leaning in the window, talking to me. A car passes by, and I don't see what happens, but she turns around like and starts cussing him out.
mhm. Yeah,
And I'm like, what the hell just
I know.
happened?
I already know. He
Um,
thinks yeah, sex work.
and And so she turns back to me, and I'm like, "What happened? Like, what was that?" And she was like, "Oh, like he just touched me when he passed by or whatever." And I was just like, I was when I tell you I didn't know what to do, I was like, "All right, so what do I do in this situation? Like, this is
Yeah,
not
okay.
this." So
He's
it
about
was
to
a
fight.
really
Like it's yeah.
it was a strange situation to be in, because it was like I wasn't with the person, but I was still talking to him like at that moment, and I still feel like there should be like a baseline, like I
Hmm.
don't know, like I don't know, like there
Male
should be
response.
male
Like
response. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah. even if you're not like with the
Like,
person.
yeah,
But when I
yeah,
tell you I was confused, and I ended up not doing anything. And that's something that to this day it still runs in my like it plays
yeah.
back in my head in terms of like what could I have done differently. I was a lot less confrontational back then. I'm not by no
Not
means
that you
I'm
are
not
now. Yeah, I
yeah,
know.
I'm not confrontational now either, but I'm a lot more open to confrontation or situations or conversations that need to happen as opposed to back then when I was, 19 or 20, whatever I was. But yeah, situations like that could really like haunt somebody and like really make them feel like
Yeah,
either they're
inadequate.
not enough or they could have done more or whatever the case may be. um I've accepted that, I'm saying, like, I did the best with what I had at the time in terms of knowledge wise, but if it was to happen again, I would definitely see myself handling that a different way. But then again comes the
I will
question.
add.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just let me add to this.
Mhm.
It used to be like a joke that I would say when I was younger. About dudes that I date. I'd be like, I don't know about this dude, man. I don't think he would defend my honor. And I used
Mhm.
to always say to him, like, he ain't about to defend my honor. I could tell he a little punk ass. Like, he ain't gonna say, like, not to say that I need somebody to fight or do anything, but like that exact situation is something I'd be like, so you're not gonna defend my honor? Like, you know what I mean? You're not gonna tell dude, hey, don't do that. She's an honorable, but like, you know what I mean? Like, leave her alone, like that kind of thing. So that was a gender role, role. Yeah, I had that I had in my head, and I still kind of have a little bit. I'm like, if
But
I'm this level of strength, I'm gonna
I
need
was gonna
a partner to
say
be this level of
that level of
strength.
strength, and I
Like,
totally get that, and that's why I don't feel bad that she like kind of slowly stopped talking to me. I totally got it. Like I didn't feel like, oh man, I got it totally.
mhm.
That was more to me of conflict resolution that I just
Prepare
wasn't
for.
well versed in. And even now, again, I'm better, but I'm not where I need to be. But I would at least be more assertive in terms of saying something or, you know, saying something.
Yeah,
uh,
no.
but those are kind of the things. Now, if you have somebody else who maybe doesn't have conflict resolution skills and goes about that a totally,
Mm,
extreme way, let's say,
mhm.
that could turn out catastrophic as well. So it all depends on, I'm saying, like the people involved, but it puts this pressure on people to do certain things and to act certain ways based on what society tells you you're supposed to do. But at the end of the day, me and other people had this conversation. Me and Joanne actually had this conversation at the end of one of our podcasts, and it was like, you should still do or say something that you feel comfortable saying or doing in that moment, because uh, there still needs to be a message that this is not okay. But at the same time, I
Yeah.
can't tell you what your comfort level is of what to do. But even if that's like, in a situation that's more extreme, calling the police or, you know getting help somehow,
Something.
something.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna add. Like, just as long as there's some logic to it. If it's
Mhm.
illogical to do so, like that's that traditional, the illogical. Like, listen, this
That's
man
just
looked crazy. Let's not talk to this person. I'd be like, you're right. Let's walk away now. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
like, don't defend my honor. Like, it just, that's fine. But yeah, logically assess the situation and then react accordingly.
Yes, it's a good way to put it. Great way to summarize that. Okay. What are some of the society's gender roles on women that, well, you gave me some through the dating experiences, but what are some of the typical ones that just come to mind?
Okay, so for sure the nurturer,
Hmm.
for sure the supporter, cheerleader kind of deal, not like miniskirt cheerleader, more like support, like, yay, you can do it, big man, big strong man, like
Hmm.
kind of deal. Um, Domestic duties, generally speaking, clothing, food. Um, Even though I think majority of women work, the role is still not thought of as a woman who's working, so that's not part of it whatsoever, even in 2021. Um, and just overall, basically supporting the head of the household, however that means,
Gotcha.
whatever is necessary, supporting the head of the household. Meaning they are the VP, maybe not even VP, lead admin, You know what I mean? Like you ain't even like
Maybe
yeah.
not
Just
as
do
low
it.
as maybe not as low as a role player though. Like at least
No,
a
there's
second, number two.
yeah, middle
Gotcha.
management. That's what it is,
Middle
middle
management.
management. You ain't go to it. You ain't get promoted, but you made it here. Good job.
But
You
you know
know,
what?
like,
I think we both have examples of seeing how things are changing in terms of people accepting certain gender roles and switching it around. You know what I'm saying? Like doing things a little differently. Like you have a couple
yeah.
of friends that
I was gonna
are
mention exactly.
go ahead. So
Who?
go ahead and I'll mention mine as well.
Yeah, a married couple with two small children, both under the age of 6. Both like a year apart, like ooh, Irish twins kind of deal. Oh,
Mm,
again, pregnant again? But but no, so the woman, the wife, she worked at a large consulting firm and had been working there for at least 10 years by the time she had gotten pregnant. The guy is was working at a bank, but middle management, right?
mhm,
So nothing, that like you can't slide back into if you walk away. So basically, after they had their children, um, he decided to just quit, and he was a stay-at-home dad for like 4 years or something, 3 years, something like that, until they went to
mhm.
school. And she worked full time. Actually, and I'm gonna throw some hate in there. She was working from home. Bruh, you work from home and you say, I can't even
Oh,
look at the kids, bruh, and just let the dude do everything. Like, he wash the dishes. She be having breaks. Like, like I know, you go hard. Like, you go extra hard right now. But yeah, but that was their deal. And I remember when he was trying to go back to work, and I remember looking at his LinkedIn, and it was just like there was the gap, and in that gap, well, not necessarily a gap, because he made it a point to put in there, and it was like, stay at home dad, and then
the duties.
the description or whatever. It was
Mhm.
like, oh, I took this once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to stay at home with my kids and da da da. I thought that was really cool because a man can get away with that. A woman, they'd be like, what do you mean once in a lifetime opportunity? Well, take care of your kids. Put that on LinkedIn. Take care of your kids. But I mean, it is what it is. Like, it's just a side note, a little tangent on that. I remember being in Russia, and this one dude was telling me how he was friends with this one guy who decided to take this long trek and go to the top of this mountain and then like live there for like a full year. So I'm not no huge mountain where you can't breathe, but like
Mhm.
live someplace mountainous for like a year and just like meditate and just like figure out life and live off the land, yada yada. And my friend was like, "Isn't that so cool?" And he was like, "He's not like just some weirdo. He has like a wife and like a kid, like a 10-year-old kid." He's like, "Isn't that cool?" And I was like, "What the fuck? It's not like." Because in my head, if a woman were to do that and take a year and go do, it would not be considered cool. She'd be like an unfit mother. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So when you have a child involved, it's cool when a dude just does what he does or takes care. Everything's so amazing. Everything's amazing. But a woman does it, she's neglectful or duh, that's your job. Like that's the gender role. That's the issue. It's like, let
mhm.
me bust these box walls down. But yeah. All right, that was a long thing.
Nah, that's okay. No, and that's when you were saying that, it reminded me of the Lions again because even though they're spending most of the day protecting the territory and walking around, they do also sleep a lot. Um,
Man,
even while the
every time
lionesses are
it's
hunting. So,
like guest smash. Okay, my
but
child.
you know what's crazy? I saw it in a different light the last few times I was watching, like, lion behavior and lion prides. When the male lions do have to fight, sometimes it's to the death. So it's kind of
Mm.
like the risk is a little different as well. So oh man.
Yeah, okay.
But
It's
this is what
literal
lions.
survival of the fittest.
It
Yeah.
is. But this is what lions, y'all. Obviously, we're not living a lifestyle where like, one person has to go out and get the food and then the other partner has to stay back and protect the home. Like that's not. And in fact, if I'm in a situation with somebody, I would rather both of us have the knowledge um and the ability to protect and provide. Because what if something happens to one
Right?
person, to one partner? Like, I want to know that the kids are still good. I want to know that the family is still okay. So I think it's practical to for both, or I say both, whoever is involved, It could be more than two, to be as well versed in the areas that they can for the sake of the family, not for the sake of, like, what tradition says or what the roles are placed on them. Um, yeah, I think it's important for so even protection. Like, hey, look, I'm not a gun person, um, but at the same time,
I mean,
if yeah,
the
I
way I
mean,
argue
yeah,
it, like,
yeah, you learn how to, but you're not really
yeah,
into guns like that. What I was gonna say was, if I learned somehow to, you know, some type of hand to hand combat, then I'm not saying you have to know how to handle a gun, but I'm probably gonna, impart some of that onto whoever I'm with, so that, if she also needs to, protect herself or to
yeah,
protect the kids, like, I'm saying, there's some level of knowledge. I don't think anybody should be um left ignorant due to
yeah.
what society says. That's all I'm saying. So even if I feel
That's a
like,
nice way. That's perfect. Yeah.
if I have a
Okay.
daughter or daughters, she's gonna learn to be independent, because I don't want her to have to depend on anybody else. So the way I look at it is, like, I'm not setting you up um so you live independently and you don't depend on anybody else. I'm setting you up so if you have to, you know how to take care of yourself, and you won't be in a position where you're, you know, at a loss because you don't have knowledge of certain things. So yeah, but go ahead. I'm sorry. That was my tangent.
No, no, that's it. I was gonna add like a little anecdote because you were talking about the lions, but I think it's the moment has passed. I was gonna. All right, so I'll say it anyway since I'm just rambling.
Hey, go ahead.
Um, no, just regarding domestication of women, and
You almost
there are
dropped it,
many
huh?
different. Listen, yeah, oh, that's funny because the cable's being pulled. I was like, um, there are many different what's the word? Not versions, but ideas as to I can't think of the word, but ideas as to how women were became domesticated.
Hmm.
What's that word? Anyway, um, and one of them was the invention of fire. That's all I was going to add. That like when fire became a thing and you were able to be able to sit and cook the food and all that, it became the woman's job, and she ended up staying longer in the house and longer in the home, longer with the kids, longer with the this and longer. And of course, later on when like you have um, conflicts such as school and all that, where you take them back and forth, where you hold on to the kid at home until you're able to take them to school when they're 5 or 6 years old.
Hmm.
Just saying that like these traditions started, perhaps if it's from fire, because of fire, the guy's stepping outside, getting all the food, and the woman's cooking all day, every day, doing whatever. What that got to do with me now? Like, we can both cook. Like, I'm just saying, that just back to tradition, back to the line and all. It's just like, all right, I hear it, but that's just out of circumstance. It's not because it made more sense. Like my brain is not better equipped to cook, and your brain
Hmm.
is not better equipped to be strong to do man things. I don't know. It's just let me live, son. Just let us live. Let us just do, and then you'll find somebody who complements that,
Hmm.
or not. You don't have to not say you look at it. I'm gonna keep saying that. Like, so,
Single over
but
here, single. Oh, actually,
yeah,
this way.
let's high five real quick. Okay, let's high five.
Hey, can I do it? Oh, I went the wrong way again. Damn.
Boy, what
Damn
in
it.
the other
I
hand?
I
Just
am
flip it.
so confused. All right.
Boom. I'm done.
Yo, that was, I would say it was embarrassing, but it wasn't. I don't
It's
embarrass easy,
whatever.
so um but yeah, man, let's really start examining the way that we're being conditioned and the things that we're being taught, and really start just looking at things from maybe a practical perspective. I like to bring that into the conversation a lot of times when I talk about things, because sometimes we just go with the word. We go with uh the word, meaning like the word or words or messages being spoken by by most people, as opposed to thinking about what actually, yeah, exactly, thinking about what actually fits our lifestyles and thinking about what actually suits us and our families best. So definitely have an open mind. about, making things the way you want it. Because again, gender roles are not totally unnecessary. They can be used as a guideline, but they also can be totally just ignored and scrapped altogether, and you can make your own thing, so it doesn't have to be one or the other. uh just make it as you wish and make it fit your lifestyle and your preferences. That's all.
Yeah. And let me just add to that: if somebody says that you're not doing it right, or you're incorrect, or this or that, that's not your tribe. That's not for you. Don't
Mm,
even try to. We're not teaching. Not at 40. Not at 40. Not teaching nothing.
that's real.
Okay. It's a pleasure. It was a pleasure. Good day. You know what I mean? Like,
That's it.
that's it.
And you got to be willing to say that too. Like, if it's not a match, it's not a match. As much as you want it to be.
If there's some fines, man, if there's some fines. Like, you sure? Like, all right.
Trust me, I've come across many beautiful women as well who, don't always want the same thing as me. So
All
it's
for Jesus.
really. we're not even gonna get into that. We're not gonna get into that right now. But is there anything else you want to add to this conversation?
I'm good. Just that last bit. Do you? And people will appreciate it or not. Just stick to the people who do. That's it. And they will stick to you. Y'all will connect easily. It
Hmm.
won't. Don't spend your time explaining yourself to somebody who just will never get it. That's just let it ride.
That's definitely a word. That's a bar. I don't have anything else to add. I just want to thank Shawit for joining me again.
This is
Uh,
great.
it was a lot of fun. Kenji, thanks for making a quick appearance before going to bed. Um, and this was another episode of the Sex Mechanic Podcast. Join me next week, Monday again. I'm thinking about changing the day too, because Monday just seems like, I'm not gonna say it only works for me. It works for some people. I mean, there's people watching right now, but I feel like there are other
Like
days
a
where
midweek. I would like,
a
you
midweek.
could do your hump day situation.
I
Hump
was
day. Oh
thinking about that, like
my.
Wednesday hump day situation, but problem is work. So maybe in December we could think about some other options, y'all, possibly in terms of a hump day,
Or you can
possibly.
take a poll. Be like, hey, when would you like to see me?
You know what? That's not bad. Yeah. Just please don't say like a Saturday.
Mm. Nah, nah, nah.
Hopefully y'all doing stuff. Y'all don't need me to be
That
on here
costs
on Saturday
money.
night.
That's only paying. Like,
Hey, maybe yeah.
listen,
Yeah, what
that
we'll
catch you
figure
there.
it out.
No. All right, I'm trying. Get me over here.
All right, y'all. But I will probably put a poll out on IG and ask what days would suit most of the audience, and what days you guys would like to join me on these conversations if Monday is not the best day. So again, thank you for coming on, Sweet. I appreciate you. And
This was fun. Thank you.
of course, we will talk to y'all another time. Peace.